We may have just had the closest thing to a Cybertruck range leak than ever, okay? Because obviously deliveries are only a mere couple of weeks away and lots of employees have been spotted testing them. Even my friend Mike from the EV podcast has been spotting them like every single day now. I'm incredibly jealous. I think I'm gonna handcuff myself to him so that I can spot one, but someone probably is either risking their job or doing something they're not supposed to do and was posting a TikTok of the Cybertruck user interface again, which still looks glorious. There's actually been a couple more leaks surrounding the Cybertruck software, which I'm very excited to check out in person. One perspective showcasing that when the Cybertruck is in park, you can kind of access all the controls on the full screen display, like the maps kind of gets minimized. We've also seen indications that the rear camera can be placed on the top of the display and stay there, kind of like a permanent rear view mirror. I'm assuming in the event that the vault cover is closed, because the more recent Cybertruck release candidates do not have a display where the rear view mirror is. It's just a normal mirror. But all that being said, okay, someone got a close-up shot of the Cybertruck user interface with some navigation typed into it. And you know, Tesla's been very careful to make sure that you can't easily just tap the battery percentage and see the range figure. And now I start to understand why, because at least according to the navigation data, the Cybertruck was currently sitting at 71%, and it said that to go 16 miles, your estimated arrival state of charge would be 65%, and that it was a 16-mile route. Which means, with some basic math, we can figure out that the Cybertruck, essentially, on this particular route, was going to use about 6% of its energy to go 16 miles. And if you extrapolate that out, you know, you gotta multiply 6 by around 16.7 to get about 100. So if you multiply 16 by 16.7, then it roughly translates to the range being in the ballpark of 270 miles. Now, before you all start panicking and freaking out, don't look at this as a hard, concrete way to calculate range. Tesla's battery range estimate thing is not a good indication. It's not consistent, and sometimes it factors in driving behavior, sometimes it does not. This particular Cybertruck was parked at a supercharger charging up, pulling about 77 kilowatts at 71%, which is kind of average, not out of the ordinary. So personally, I don't think that the Cybertruck does actually have a 270 mile range. I think that there's some elevation differences and some driving behaviors that it's likely affecting the range estimator, but it does give you a ballpark on exactly how much energy is in the Cybertruck and what its energy consumption is looking like, at least according to the in-route navigation planner. And my ballpark guesstimate would imply that the EPA estimated range for the Cybertruck is probably going to be looking a little over 300 miles, okay? If the Cybertruck was going to have a 500 mile range, I don't think that the trip planner would estimate that you would lose 6% within 16 miles. That seems overly cautious and way too cynical for the Tesla trip planner, which I assume the code on the Cybertruck is likely very similar to that of other Teslas. But the good news is this is fairly likely to be the dual motor Cybertruck, and we've seen evidence that Tesla is building those with the part number and model number included in like leaked teardown images. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the tri-motor Cybertruck can't be 500 or hopefully at least 400 mile range. But as far as like release candidates go, like what are the first Cybertruck deliveries going to have? In my opinion, this just increased the likelihood that the launch edition Cybertruck will be dual motor and not go much further than 300 miles on a charge. Knowing that the trip estimator is kind of saying that the Cybertruck has a 270 real world range, that's not necessarily a great indication that it's gonna be better than we think, but I'll just keep trying to remind everybody that your maximum range number is not as big a deal as people make it out to be. Your Cybertruck, even if it does get an EPA estimated range of 500 miles, after just a year of degradation, it probably won't hit 500 anymore, and when towing, that gets cut in half anyway, and when driving at highway speed, you're probably not gonna get the EPA range figure in the first place. So I get it, everybody just wants more range is better, but Rivian and Ford have proven that there's definitely a fairly large market of people willing to spend top dollar on electric pickup trucks that go a little bit over 300. And honestly, once you start road tripping with an electric vehicle, you'll start to realize the charging network and the charging speed definitely affects your travel time way more than your maximum range number does, because you're rarely going to be charging to full in the first place. And sure, people who are towing are going to want every last mile of range they can get, so they'll take 500, they take 600 if they can get it, because they know with a trailer that's going to turn into 250, 300. But the hard pill to swallow that I'm just going to have to remind everybody is, even if Tesla has that on the launch edition, you can get a tri-motor that goes over 500 miles on a single charge, it's still not going to be a great towing machine. For one, Tesla doesn't seem to have autopilot, autopilot and full self-driving code working with trailers yet, so I hope that they have that figured out by the time the Cybertruck launches, but I kind of doubt it. And on top of that, most of the superchargers you're going to be stopping at every 250 or 300 miles in the best case scenario. Most of those still do not have pull-through stations. There's a handful of superchargers that have trailer stalls ready, but most of them don't, and that means that even if you spend, you know, $80, $90, $100,000 on your 500-mile range Cybertruck, you'll still probably have to unhook the trailer every time you park it, and then it's going to take you much, much longer to charge, because in order to get a range that good, you're going to easily need 180 or well over 200 kilowatt-hour battery pack, and most superchargers right now cap out at 250 kilowatts. So here's hoping the Cybertruck with its high voltage architecture can have a really, really solid charging curve and maintain 250 kilowatts for a long time, but still, it's a nickel-based battery, so it's probably going to have a charging curve fairly similar to that of other long-range big battery pack Teslas like the Model S and X, which means you're not charging to full most of the time, and you're going to have to find a place to leave your trailer and then have to hook it up, unhook it every time you stop. It might get old, it might get tiring very, very fast, which is why I'm not saying it's impossible to do long-distance towing with an EV. It's just a much bigger problem than just the size of the battery pack. It's more than just a range issue. It's also a charging network issue, and the charging network isn't going to be addressed and fixed overnight, which is personally why I think it's totally reasonable, and Tesla is very wise, in my opinion, to actually start out with the dual motor, because lots of people out there, like the hardcore Tesla fanboys, are going to buy the launch edition Cybertruck no matter what. So whether it has a 310, 330 mile range, that's totally fine, because it's the latest cutting edge vehicle, literally, from Tesla, with a crazy cool user interface. It's got the full self-driving technology. It's super durable. You can stand on the vault. It's going to turn heads everywhere. It's going to turn all four wheels. It's just an amazing vehicle. So even if they start with the 300 mile range dual motor, I'm pretty confident they're going to sell every single one they make, regardless of what it costs. And then you wait a year to go by for the 4680s to maybe get a little bit more energy dense, and Tesla will say at the delivery event that they'll work on the 500 mile range in the future. It's not ready yet, but it's going to be awesome. The performance beast mode Cybertruck, and that one can have a larger battery pack, or at least store more energy on the inside, and that one will have 3 motors and go really fast, and also be very, very efficient and go 500 miles on a charge. And by the time that one comes out, hopefully there's some more V4 superchargers around for faster Cybertruck charging, and more of those chargers can actually have trailer pull-through stations, so that long-distance towing with an electric truck can actually start to be somewhat practical. And all of those Tesla fanboys that bought the launch edition Cybertruck on day one and got it as soon as they could, they're all going to sell their Cybertrucks and then buy the tri-motor. So Tesla gets a secondary sale out of all of the fanboys, whereas if Tesla launches the tri-motor and dual motor simultaneously, yeah, all the fanboys and all the crazy fanatics are just going to buy the high-end one right away. They're not going to go back and buy the lower range, less motor version. So business-wise, at least, it makes a lot of sense in my head for them to start with the dual motor and then introduce the tri-motor later on. But what do you guys think Tesla's going to do? Do you think both will be available at launch? Does seeing these range estimates kind of concern you, or do you think that we shouldn't trust the Tesla trip planner? Maybe it actually has a 400 mile range, and for some reason it's just assuming that going 16 miles will use 6%. All your thoughts, let me know what you're thinking down in the comments below, and thank you to everybody supporting this channel directly. Seriously, helps us out a ton, as does just watching these videos. So thanks again. Have an excellent rest of your day.